we're only 2 full days into the season, so it's not like we have a ton of like games and topics to chew on, and it's way too early for major takeaways, but there has been a couple games, some good games, some newsy tidbits and results. So why don't we go into like one big observation or one thing we liked about the first 2 days of the season to kick things off here. Max, we can start with you. What did you like from the first 2 days of NHL action?
I like Brock Boeser's 4-goal game. There's probably been nobody who's been the subject of more trade talk, and I'm sure there's been some tumult for him. And last year, down year, 18 goals. So why don't we just kick 2023-24 off with a 4-goal game against one of the 2 or 3 top favorites to win the Stanley Cup? I think that was really awesome to see, and I do think there's a big year in store for Brock Boeser. So it was great to see him get off to a great start.
The dude that deserves to have a good year too.
Yeah.
Just because of how things have gone for Vancouver over the last couple, losing his dad. I mean, there's just like endless list of reasons to root for that guy. So to see it manifest itself on night one, loved it, man. Loved it.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the headlines coming out of it, I mean, he got 4 goals, he got headlines, but a lot of the stuff coming out of it is about the calamity of the Oilers. But I felt like he was the absolute story of that game for me.
I know we don't want to overreact after one game for the Canucks, but could they be a sneaky dark horse this season?
Yeah, I think they could. I had him in, when we filed our predictions. I had him in until the Hellebuck and Scheifele signings came in, and then I ended up flip-flopping and putting Winnipeg back in just because I felt like that was going to be a big distraction and all that, and I ended up putting Winnipeg back in. I'm almost kind of regretting that, but it's one game. We'll see.
I stood firm, baby.
Canucks, you kept them in?
Canucks rider. Yes, of course. I had to go.
You had the Canucks in the playoffs?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Did you boot Calgary out?
Winnipeg.
Oh, I don't even know what I predicted.
I had to go with some. I forced myself to pick new teams, I think, to enter the playoffs because my initial reaction was chalk, basically, in both conferences. I have Pittsburgh instead of the Islanders, and then I have Canucks instead of Jets. Other than that, it's the same, which I felt horrible about, but whatever.
Brock Boeser is the 10th player now in NHL history to score 4 goals in a team's season opening game.
Love it.
According to Sportsnet stats, 2 of which were also Canucks. So that's kind of a fun one. I think I hope that they're a fun team to watch this season. Last year got really tiresome with it was just like constant negative storylines coming out of Vancouver. I hope it'll be a better year there. Oh, Thatcher Demko left the game last night because he's been battling the flu. He played really well until he threw up in his goalie mask and had to leave the game.
At least he threw up.
Ew.
Wasn't a Luongo situation. Dude pooped his pants.
Max is like, we don't talk about poop when Corey's hosting. I don't like this show already.
We've never, I can't say we ever have before. That is true.
Talk about poop so much that it just has to all get edited out.
Yeah. I was actually just trying to think of a cousin Greg from Succession joke there. Puking in the mascot costume. But
Sean, why don't you go ahead with what you liked from the first 2 days?
So we watched the Leafs Canadiens opener last night. They're announcing the Maple Leafs across the board, not just the new players. But Ryan Reaves comes out, does a little flex, points at his bicep. Camera cuts to Brad Treliving in his box at the arena. Reacts like a child seeing the ice cream truck outside of the house. So it was glee. I'm not sure I've seen an NHL
doing
general
the lean forward with his hand on his head on his hand, looking around, and then Ryan Reaves comes out and he just kind of leans back and does the
He was a half step away from clapping his hands like a little treat boy, watching the ice cream truck. Like I said, I love that for Brad Treliving. I hope he holds on to that feeling for the rest of the season. I hope that's not the last moment of joy that man has on the job as the Maple Leafs general manager, because we know that that's thankless to some extent. Like, I'm hoping this is not the high water point of Brent Treliving's tenure in Toronto, is him geeking out whenever he saw Ryan Reaves come out and flex. I don't think it will be. Like, I do like the job that he's done. I like that team, in a vacuum at least. But man, it was funny to see, for like right out of the gate for him like that.
There was a moment in that game they were down 2 goals with 5 minutes left. I mean, it's, again, we're gonna say this all week or all month. It's one game, but that would have been a quick comeback to earth on that one, losing to the team picked unanimously to finish last in the division on opening night at home.
Yeah, and the flip
they
side,
lost to Montreal in the season opener last year too, so it's not like uncommon ground for Toronto. That was a good game though. I know it wasn't like a great goalie game, and I'm sure Leafs fans were annoyed and afraid for a little while, but I'm not going to complain about a 6-5 game one. Thought it was fun. Auston Matthews hat trick.
I want like an uneventful regular season for the Maple Leafs. Like, I don't want to have to do this stuff that we did last year when they start slow and everyone freaks
Sheldon
out for a little
games.
bit. Yeah, and then that turns out to be a blip on the radar and nothing really worth meaningfully discussing for the rest of the season. Like, let's just cruise through. Let's get them to like 106 points so we don't have to pay an undue amount of attention to them over the course of the regular season. And we can get to the playoffs and we can hit the reset button and we can start, having the same conversations that we've had about them for however long. But I need to just kick this can down the road as long as we possibly can, because the Leafs being like true top of mind, unavoidable discussion, for 6 months, I emotionally, physically, I don't think I can handle it.
Yeah.
Do you know how many minutes Ryan Reaves played last night?
Atlantic. What'd you say, Max?
I was asking Sean, do you know how many minutes Ryan Reaves played last night?
7.
8.
Yeah.
He got in a fight.
Yeah,
it was the full Reaves experience. He wore a pink suit to the rink, which everybody always loves and freaks out about, because it wasn't just a boring blue suit like 99% of
Auston Matthews in his like sneakers and turtlenecks are quaking. He's like, "Oh, I'm actually gonna have to like wear a fit for people to say nice fit, not just like a t-shirt and jeans." And people are like,
came out, did the flex, made his GM smile, and then ended up in the penalty box like right after that. That's like the Ryan Reaves triple crown. So got a taste of it last night. Now, like I said, I'm just glad we can stick every bit of the Maple Leafs discourse into a drawer for the next 6 months. I'm sure that's how it's going to work.
Yeah. Yep. So mine's a little bit less of an on ice moment. I guess it was technically. But my kind of thing that I liked was the Chris Snow tribute yesterday in Calgary before the game. Chris Snow, who died a couple of weeks ago, he was only 42 years old, the assistant general manager of the Flames, who we all mostly know at this point. He was given a year to live in 2019 after being diagnosed with ALS. Obviously, I covered the Flames for a few years. Chris Snow was a wonderful person, and I just thought the tribute was really beautiful. They had the rest of the Snow family there last night. Cohen was on the bench during warmups. He was, dabbing all the players up after they came off the ice, when they went on the ice. And then his wife, Kelsey, and kids, Cohen and Willa, did a ceremonial puck drop as well. And I just thought that was a really beautiful moment, a really beautiful tribute for Chris Snow. And that's just such a wonderful family. I can't even imagine what they're going through. So that was just one moment I wanted to highlight, and just continue to celebrate that family and the strength that they've showed. Kelsey is a wonderful person. She was actually the first person who kind of reached out to me when I moved to Calgary, sent me like a really beautiful message. Obviously she was a woman in a press box before, and she was a really great resource for me, a really great person. So just wanted to highlight and shout out that family, because they're beautiful people.
Yeah, that has been one of the most heartbreaking stories in hockey for, as you said, a few years now. And I've been blown away by Kelsey and how much she's been willing to make public and willing to share about what that has been like, and floored almost every single time by that. I cannot even imagine.
Yeah, it's just unimaginable amount of grace and strength it takes to live through that, right? And it was good to see. So especially the smile on Cohen's face, right, when he was getting some knocks from the players. Like that's hopefully there's better days ahead for that family.
Yeah, Michael Backlund gave him a jersey after the game last night, signed it and said, and Michael Backlund, I believe his wife's mother died of ALS a couple years ago too. So they raise a lot of money for ALS, and Backlund's he's really big in the community, him and his wife. And they gave Cohen a signed Backlund jersey, and it just said, like, to Cohen, thank you so much for being here as my first day as captain of the Calgary Flames. And it's just little things like that. They're going through such a hard time, and the Flames are trying to make sure that, those kids are happy and have things that they can remember. So I thought that was cool. The Flames also won the game. I thought that was like an interesting opener as well, kind of juicy storylines with the Flames and the Jets playing against each other, two teams who, for the most part, other than Calgary obviously changing their GM and coach, but for the most part, like, kind of stayed the course after off seasons filled with trade requests and rumors. Flames beat the Jets on game one. That's going to be two interesting teams to kind of track for the rest of the season. One final one that we want to mention too, and this isn't even an honorable mention, this is more of like an MVP of the week. It's Scott Laughton. He's kind of our Thursday show MVP.
We didn't we couldn't make him an honorable mention, and we couldn't have any of us individually take him because we all wanted to throw in on Scott Laughton, so we're all at the right time.
Yeah, this is our group project effort. We all wanted to give some snaps to Scott Laughton. Yesterday he said that he's essentially going to disregard the NHL's ban on cause messaging by using Pride tape. He said, you'll probably see me with Pride tape on that night anyways. If they want to say something, they can. I just think it's great to see that there's pushback from players. It seems like there's going to be pushback from teams. Ian Mendes had a great story that came out about that pushback. He talked to the people from Pride Tape and said that there's been an NHL team already putting in an order to bring in Pride Tape. So I'm glad that there's people pushing back on what's a really stupid rule. Let's just call it what it is from the NHL.
The pushback is great for a couple reasons. Number one, because it's a stupid rule. Yeah. Number two, because the only reason I can think of that they would do this is a calculated decision that we're going to, eat it for a week of headlines here when we make this decision, and then not have to deal with it throughout the year as Pride nights come and stuff happens and guys do or don't. If guys like Scott Laughton do, it stays in the headline and it renders that very, in my perception, cynical strategy useless anyway. So I love it for two reasons.
We love it, man. That's the only way to push back, because this is a don't say gay set of regulations, right? So for Scott Laughton to say find me, I don't care, I dare you. How about that? That's effectively what that is, because if push comes to shove and Scott Laughton goes out there, and by the way, hopefully not just Scott Laughton. Let's cross our fingers and hope that there's a fleet of players doing this, because there's nothing else to hope for as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. John Merrill also said that he would use the tape.
That's true. Yeah. Find those guys.
So it's nice to see
what happens. Yeah. Let's see the NHL find those dudes for that and see how it goes.
That's not going to go away. Like Max said, it's not going to be just okay, quiet it down. No one's angry anymore, because it's just going to keep coming up for them, and it's going to put them in a spot where they either need to reverse that policy or not enforce it, or take it on the teeth every single time they find somebody for trying to support Pride. So
love it.
Good luck, league. We love that from the players.